Hi everyone, I'm Zan, your astrologer, and welcome to your horoscope for the week of May the 3rd, 2021. We have a week ahead of us where important energy shifts are going to be taking place, especially from a personal perspective. But these energy shifts might not really do a lot in the sense that they will not take away the intensity that all of us are experiencing in the present moment. Everything still feels very much fated. Everything still feels like heavily karmic. And this just proves how extremely potent the scorpionic energies really are. Because one way or another, all of us are still under the effect of the Scorpio super full moon that we had on the 26th or 27th April, depending on where you live. And it's not really the emotional pull that is still heavily influencing us, but rather the truth that it has revealed, especially from a psychological perspective, because the Scorpio full moon, at least in one area of our lives, was a very clear mirror, and it revealed so much about ourselves and our inner world, and especially those things that we really don't like to look at. So this Scorpio full moon had a really positive effect as well, because yes, whatever we were confronted with was not so easy to bear, but it did, how should I say, inspire or motivate a lot of people to transform, to change, to try their hardest, to do something with whatever was revealed to them, either by their relationships, either their partnerships, work relations, or simply the emotions, the psychological energies that the full moon just pulled up inside of us. So this is where actually, symbolically speaking, of course, alchemizing those, taking them in and doing something with them. So even though these revelations and whatever the Scorpio full moon produced may have slightly or quite significantly changed some of our plans, some of our ambitions and goals, our timing, when we plan to do this and that in our lives, yet still we can right now in this present moment see the blessing in it and why it was so very necessary. And we must also mention that all of this energy, not just the full moon, everything in the sky, was taking place under a very strong sextile, where Chiron, the wounded healer in the sign of Aries, our deepest wounds, all of those events in our lives, especially in the past, which left a massive impact on us, as in a soul level tattoo, we can heal, we can forget, we can forgive, but the imprint is always there. So the Chiron is sextiling the North Node in the sign of Gemini. So it means that all of these events, all of this invitation to heal, even when sometimes it is so very uncomfortable and actually ugly, because we can very easily be confronted by our own toxicity, for example, and that is a very hard and bitter pill to swallow, especially if you're someone with genuine good intent. But sometimes to truly embrace a pain-free future, an empowered future, a psychologically balanced future, we needed all of this to take place. Because that is the North Node, exalted, extremely powerful and intense in the sign of Gemini, because it is the natural host of the North Node, because we want our futures not to resemble the present. We don't want to make the same mistakes, and we just want to embody and embrace the energy of Gemini, lightheartedness. We don't want anything to weigh on our hearts. We don't want anything to trouble our minds. We don't want our thoughts to defeat us no longer. So if we want a future free of all of this, this is what we had to endure. This is what we had to do. So in this sense, it is a massive blessing. Because just think about it this way. Our loved ones, those people who are truly dear to us and we are dear to them, they might be extremely subjective, and some of them might actually be in love, symbolically speaking, with our flaws, even with our ugliness. We are part of their lives and they accept us. That is what love means ultimately. So, especially our friends, family, and loved ones and best friends are never that good mirrors for us. When it comes to the true ugliness, yes, they're perfect mirrors for everything that is beautiful, positive, etc. But when it comes to the scorpionic expression of who it is that we are, well, it is hidden both from us and both from our closest friends. Family, loved ones, life partners, children, etc. So it takes a karmic push, a karmic discharge for the mirror to be placed in front of us. So it is a blessing, really. And regardless of what this North Node in Gemini means for us personally, for some people it's their careers, for other people it's relationships, for other people still, let's say, spirituality, creativity, intellectual goals like studies, etc. Yet still, if all of that is, free from hurt, free from pain, if our modus operandi, if our way of thinking is, on one hand, ours and ours alone, free from conditioning, free from a lot of negative influence, because the sign of Gemini has also to do with learning everything that we picked up from school, from our families, from other people. Basically, how we learn to survive, how we learn to adapt to society, to everything in life. That is so very much Gemini. So that has to be free from all those things which work against us and who it is that we are not. We might have picked up so many things that at one point in our lives helped us to navigate, to survive, to fit in, to find whatever it is that we needed there and then in our lives. But if they're no longer part of our future, it takes such a strong karmic energy to eliminate it. And this is basically the symbolism of Scorpio, the snake shedding its skin. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this up right now, because it is going to be next week, especially the beginning of the week, when the sextile between the Chiron and the North Node is that much powerful. So this brings us clarity, this brings us empowerment. This is where our wounds and everything that, that Chiron represents, our tattoos, so to speak. Or a better metaphor is the shock shell that all of us had to endure at one point in our lives for the sheer sake of survival, regardless what that means, because all of us will have Aries in a different part of the sky. Yet now we can find true power, true healing, true clarity with all of those things. And of course, there are some things that we take with us into the future. For example, life experience, and there are some things which we truly had to let go, and they may not be part of our futures. Especially if those will create self-defeating thoughts and just block us mentally. And fear from learning new things, fear from communicating, fear from trusting other people, or misjudgment, where because of our wounds we just find it absolutely impossible to look at another person, the sign of Gemini, as equal to us, regardless of what that means. May it be like an inferiority complex or a superiority complex. At the end of the day, everyone incarnated in flesh is subject to the laws of nature. So all of us have strengths and weaknesses, and that kind of makes us equal. Everything that doesn't make us equal is basically just the fine details, the hair splitting, and that is really subject to morality, to philosophies. If we kind of look at the objective truth, if this actually exists, well, everyone alive, everyone who is born and is still alive, regardless what kind of flaws they have, regardless of who they've chosen to become, from the universe's perspective is needed, and it is an essential component of the world we have today. And who are we to question that? Who are we to make judgments? So even if these energies and what the universe is guiding us towards is not the easiest, truth to process, there is so much wisdom in it. And just remember, we are doing this for our futures. We are doing this for our mental, intellectual, the sign of Gemini, well-being. And it's not even so much about us personally, but also about the future generation, the children alive now today, because if we learn from the mistakes of, the way we were educated, our generation was educated, we can make sure that we don't pass that on to children, to the younger generation, those who will be educated in the years to come. And even though this is not the short-term future, but imagine how much this counts for the world of tomorrow. Now, speaking about the sign of Gemini, on the 4th of May, we have a really powerful energy shift where the ruling planet of Gemini enters its home sign, and this is always a breath of fresh air, because Mercury in Gemini is the daytime expression of Mercury. It is where thoughts, ideas, inspiration, communication, relations with other people, diplomacy, etc. comes with much greater ease. This is the kind of energy where paperwork, official communication, documents kind of go on autopilot. This is where even the heavens are guiding them to where they should go, how they should evolve. This is a really, really good energy, and especially for those people who are communicators, who work in customer service, writers, even poets, speakers, those who work with media, social media, journalists, everyone who basically relations with the public is gonna feel this energy as a great empowerment. And with, inspiration, this is where our minds work very, very quickly, very efficiently. This is where we also can embody the lightheartedness of Gemini. So humorous moments, lighthearted moments are likely to be expected. And it is exactly those lighthearted moments which can fix broken relationship, which can make communication much easier. Laughter has a really powerful healing effect on anyone, even the most introverted and melancholic people. But before Mercury manages to enter its home sign of Gemini, on one hand, it will spend the day in an anaretic degree of Taurus. And as I said, the anaretic degree is a karmic degree where the symbolism of the planet is greatly amplified. So basically the pressure is on. And with Mercury and Taurus is all about money, financial strategies, what we think about our self-worth, how we express our value through communication, words, how we speak about everything that is valuable in our lives. And at this time, Mercury also holds a trine with Pluto, a Pluto which has went retrograde. And when a planet goes retrograde, its symbolism turns inward. So Pluto is the power of transformation. Pluto is basically the power that we embody, the power that we possess. And with Mercury, it is our speech, our words, our writing, our official communication. For example, Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, banks, financial institutions, everything that has to do with government, everything that has to do with centralized power in a workplace, bosses, managers. So maybe this is where we speak our truth, we speak our desires, we speak what we want, and we might achieve a lot by expressing ourselves and what we're after. Of course, the negative expression of this energy, well, it is manipulation. It is where we can make, everything that we express or our situation or ourselves as a professional, let's say, seem way more valuable, way more efficient, powerful than it truly is. But this is kind of fair game in my book because all of us are going to be influenced by this Pluto retrograde, so owning our powers. Pluto is also truth and the ability to look beyond illusions, to look beyond sugarcoating. So, we have a chance also to spot the true value regardless of what someone presents to us. Now, another, perhaps even more significant energy than any of this is going to be the Sun in the sign of Taurus, perfecting a square with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. Now, even though this might be a rather uncomfortable energy, and also the Sun is conjunct Uranus, so it is truth, it is objectivity, it is a very clear vision with the Sun especially over our true worth or our financial situation or an area of life which is ruled by Taurus. But it is basically down to earth truth. It is how things are in real life. It is facts, figures, numbers, statistics. And Saturn, it is responsibility. It is also our limitations. It is what is possible and what is not possible regarding especially our futures, the sign of Aquarius, our relations with society, our friends and other people. And even though, as I said, this is a rather uncomfortable energy because it is a square and both Uranus and also Saturn in their own specific way are about the objective truth, down to earth matters. This energy can also birth a lot of brilliant and ingenious ideas of exactly how to overcome our limitations, how to find alternative means, alternative solutions to any problems. Maybe it is where something totally new, revolutionary, never experienced before, but in the sense of either a financial tactic or a solution to money problems, a business plan, a business idea, a new schematic of a business, etc. Everything that might have to do with currency, money, finances, values, or deeply personally, someone's self-worth, self-esteem, and how that influences their material lives. And in this sense, it can be, for example, a therapy, a revolutionary new psychological therapy to heal self-esteem and self-worth issues. This is just, an example. So something new and revolutionary which just appeared, which just saw the light of day. This is where we discover it, and it can truly help us overcome certain limitations or certain problems, find solutions to certain issues that we just couldn't overcome until this present moment. Also, this can turn into a karmic energy, and in the most wonderful sense possible, the Sun conjunct Uranus and both of them squaring Saturn. Uranus is epiphany, Uranus is sudden, it is chaos, and if we add the power of the truth to this, well, let me just give you an example. If someone had all their lives a low self-esteem, and because of that they weren't successful, nothing that they did actually reflected what they truly deserve against Saturn, something might just happen as a total shock surprise out of the blue where, the universe says, well, look, this is your true worth, accept it and live with it. So maybe an external event, something truly surprising and wonderful, may change someone's perception about their own values. But Uranus can go either way, let's not forget. This is where certain people who lived in an delusion better said, all their lives, where they just pumped fake self-esteem, fake values into themselves, and that gave them a strong financial gravity. Like, for example, and I really don't want to offend anyone with this, like, let's say an Instagram influencer who only has looks, who only has the ability to take pretty pictures of themselves, and that at one point, of course, it might have helped them financially in the most amazing sense possible, because the power of attraction, the power of the picture, the power of physical beauty, Taurus. But something might happen, something might occur out of the blue, Uranus, which gives them a total shock, as in, well, you need more than a physical beauty or beautiful pictures to be a valuable person, and their Instagram businesses might collapse in a nanosecond, forcing them to go and, let's say, study, go pursue other means in order to add value to themselves, and then do this over again in a much more healthier, authentic, and truthful sense. Or yet another expression of this energy, but continuing the Instagram example, someone much better looking steals all their audience, and that is also Uranus. You took a risk, you harvested when your risk paid off, but life is dual. Sometimes it gives, sometimes it takes in a nanosecond. Now, from a collective perspective, this is the theme continues. This is one of those moments when the Saturn-Uranus square, an ongoing square, which is the main theme of 2021, is gonna be energized, empowered by the sun. So financial instability, economic up and down. This is where new currencies, cryptocurrencies, things of the future, very futuristic, let's say financial solutions, etc., are going to suddenly pop up and gain a lot of influence. Instability, chaos in the stock market. And this energy is not really doom and gloom. It is basically another man's loss is another man's gain. One man's garbage can become another man's treasure, depending on ingenuity, depending on how well we can embody the Uranian qualities. But of course, let's not forget that Saturn is extremely strong in its home sign of Aquarius. So this is where the traditional, that which preserves like solid values, will never ever be in danger of being dethroned by the new and revolutionary. Like, for example, a Picasso painting is going to be a Picasso painting with its proper value, a treasure that humanity possesses, let's say, forever. That is basically Uranus in the sign of Aquarius. Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and all of the most relevant figures of humanity who added a certain value are kind of immortal, and nothing will take that away. Not even Uranus, but of course that doesn't mean that something extremely futuristic, the Picasso of our current era, is not going to gain as much influence. And yet another expression of this energy, well, it is either a political, economical, or quite physical earthquake, seismic activity, volcanic eruption. Mars is in the sign of Cancer. That equals water, so basically flooding and the force of water. But this is going to be much more in theme once Jupiter enters the sign of Pisces, so the second half of May. But we might see flooding in certain parts of the world even under this energy. Now, of course, there is another dual energy at play here. This is where Venus in her home sign of Taurus, where she is extremely powerful, and she is also conjunct dark moon Lilith. So when these two dance together, that is earthly pleasure, that means earthly value, and the desire to have it, experience it, feel it, own it, have it, regardless if it means the taste of a food, regardless if it means money, regardless if it means pleasures of the flesh, regardless if it means the freedom to go out in nature and just enjoy a beautiful day outdoors. Lilith wants to feel. Lilith is like a very primordial, primitive nature energy, especially in the sign of Taurus. It is the animal inside of us, but not in the aggressive sense, not in the sense of survival or the predator and prey game, but rather, like, look at dogs, for example. Their pleasure when they chase a ball, when they have fun, when they play, well, it has to be very earthly. The owner of the dog or the owner of pets has to be part of the game, has to be an active part of the entertainment, so to speak, because that is the only way the pet can actually, feel the love, feel the joys, feel the pleasures, or, Lilith conjunct Venus in the sign of Taurus. Well, if you love me, express it physically. Of course, this doesn't necessarily mean carnal pleasure, even though that is very part of the picture. It can simply mean, hold my hand, let's go out together, buy me expensive stuff. Yes, that is also Lilith in the sign of Taurus. Don't just say I love you, buy me flowers, for example. Or there is that, let's say for Tauran natives, the happy birthday card, but let's make sure it contains at least a note, a money, a voucher, something that they can use physically, not just the gesture. And this energy will get much more intense around the 9th of the month, so the very end of the week, when it will hold a square with Jupiter. Now, when Venus in her home sign of Taurus holds a square with the planet of amplification, expansion, overdoing it, well, this can either play out that we just crave to experience and live life. That is basically Venus in the sign of Taurus, regardless of what that means personally, and regardless what that means in each moment distinctively. If we want to taste the food, but more importantly, imagine all the restrictions, imagine all the rules where we were not able to go out with each other, enjoy each other's company. This is where Venus will simply demand this. Venus will want to touch, Venus will want to hug, Venus will want to hold hands, Venus will want to kiss, or let's just say a totally different kind of expression. Like you have a very special place somewhere in the world where you go visit each and every year because it makes you feel a certain kind of way. It inspires you, it fills you with energy, it relaxes you. Well, you may have been understanding for quite some time now with the restriction, but now this is where your soul is screaming at you, I want to go there, physically as in body. And yet another expression of this energy, well, of course it is money. It is overspending, it is the desire for luxury, the highest quality items. And even though there is nothing wrong with this if you can afford it, but the big danger of this energy is overspending. So be sure what kind of investments you make at this time, because your feelings might be tricking you, your desire might be way stronger than it usually is, and very soon Venus will leave the sign of Taurus, will leave her home sign, so feelings might change very quickly. And on the other hand, Jupiter will also leave the sign of Aquarius, so make sure you will not regret a purchase, an investment, or, Jupiter, what you promised another person, fueled by emotions, maybe fueled by love, fueled by the, sense of compassion, sense of generosity. It's perfectly fine to be generous and all of that, but make sure not to overdo it under this energy, because Jupiter is also generosity. Just let's take a look at the symbolism of Jupiter and Venus according to the ancients. Jupiter was the higher benefic, Venus was the lower benefic, bestower of blessings. So these planets were always linked to goodwill, good fortune, blessing, generosity, how to express love, how to basically give great joy to another person, sometimes financially, with gifts, with presents. So, as I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but make sure you don't disadvantage greatly your own situation. And when it comes to love and romance, be sure not to make any promises unless you're absolutely sure. If you were like dating a person for 5 months now, well, of course you might feel ready to make this promise, and this square might be actually something beneficial to you. The moment has come when you overcome your fears, the square energy, and you just make that promise, let's be together. But if you meet a person at this time, it's better to wait and get to know the person, take things slowly, rather than to make a promise there and then, because you might not know how your feelings might change. And also, another aspect Venus holds, and that means implicitly Dark Moon Lilith, they sextile Neptune. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Neptune is unconditional love. Neptune is divine love. Neptune is illusions, all the beauty of the soul, our naivety and our idealism. And if this energy is expressed artistically, well, it is the most wonderful thing possible, and it can even lead you to a lot of material gain if you're an artist, to a lot of popularity, admiration, etc. Because when Venus and Neptune meet each other in harmony, well, it is almost like the pure fertility of your soul. It is almost like the divine whispering inspiration into your mind, into your heart, into your soul. So the most beautiful paintings, the most beautiful songs, Venus and Taurus. Taurus rules the voice. Venus is the beauty of the voice. The most amazing music, rhythms, anything related to arts, even if you're a writer, especially if you're a poet, especially if you create fantasy, fiction, etc. Now this energy might not just be a big blessing to you, but it also might lead you to jackpot one way or another. This is also most amazing spiritual energy. This is where divine love will enter your life. And chances are, because this Lilith is primitive energy, primitive earth energy, you might see this in everyday life, down to earth matters. Signs that you might receive from the universe which are almost physical, illusion which turns real in the most positive sense. Whatever it is that you believe very strongly, it is where you can see what you believe. The opposite of seeing is believing. So this energy holds infinite potential. This is also dreams, but dreams which become real. And I'm talking about dreams in the sense that when you go to sleep and have visions, for example, you dream with a specific person and you meet them the next day. So it's a very strong energy where the divine kind of manifests itself very easily. Just that, regardless of what manifestation this is, it might not have a much higher meaning. It might not be like a prophecy, so to speak. It is just where the divine manifests, an end of story. And why it happened, it doesn't matter. The divine has its own agenda. But of course, there is a dangerous side of this energy when we get lost in illusion, when we get lost in fantasy. And this is where we might mistake and confuse spirituality with our own dreams and fantasies. For example, we meet a person and we immediately start thinking and feeling that we are so connected, that this is a soulmate. The heavens have sent this person in our lives. And as we head into this connection, every single step seems like a confirmation. But at the end of the day, we might very quickly find out that this happened because we wanted it to be this way, because it was the projection of our own desires and fantasies. and the divine had absolutely nothing to do with this. Let's not forget, we are co-creators. Every single artist knows that their creation is also an illusion, a beautiful, inspirational, divine illusion, but it is, after all, just an illusion, which has to be taken symbolically. Like, let me just give you an example, a Superman movie. Yes, we take on the cape and we become heroes, but not physically. We're not putting on a sheet and jumping out of the window and wanting to fly. Even if anything tells us to do that, any inner voice or another person or a guru, we won't do that because we know the symbolic nature of Superman. It is our inner Perseus, it is the hero inside of us, and not put on the cape and jump out the window. The same goes for matters of love, romance, especially the controversial stuff, the twin flame and all of that. It doesn't matter what you feel, it doesn't matter what signs you think the universe gives you. If it's real, if it's authentic, then challenge it. And you can only challenge it by allowing time to tell. If it's a real soulmate connection, there's no reason to, feel that much excited. Allow this to manifest in time. Loyalty, true authentic understanding, true love, also the mistakes, flaws, etc. have to be accepted reciprocally. And this is where I mean, don't make any promises. Wait, give it time, test it. This is where allow your doubts to play a very healthy role in all of this. And at the same time, what makes this energy even more susceptible to illusion is the Venus's trine with Pluto, which is hormonal, sexual energy. Sometimes the magic, the mystery, the twin flame, whatever that is just due to our hormones, how attracted we feel to someone. And especially if you're in an established relationship, this blessing, this trine can quickly turn into infidelity. It is a blessing, but is it really? Pluto, own your power, own your truth. Of course, the most positive expression of this energy is the hand of fate. Venus, this is where you attract something which gives you power in your life, but this can be also related to your work and career. This can be related to anything that makes you valuable, self-worth, etc. But regardless of how this energy manifests, be sure to take it with measure and have your rationality and logic with you. Now at the same time, there is another energy at play, Jupiter in an erratic degree in the sign of Aquarius. Now this in itself isn't a bad energy whatsoever, because the most highest expression is basically we are able to use our faith, whatever we believe, that Jupiter, our highest principles, even mentally, even intellectually, even if it's something, let's say, religious, which is non-linear logic, which is not really something which science can explain or which the empirical mind can fully understand, but if our faith is so very strong, it will simply invade our mental sphere and guide it in the direction of our dreams, whatever we want to see, whatever we want to accomplish. Because let's not forget, Aquarius is also our hopes and dreams. So this erratic Jupiter can be extremely powerful. And of course, this happens before Jupiter dips into the sign of Pisces, where it will retrograde out from. And when it retrogrades out of Pisces, it will return to the erratic degree of Aquarius. And that might be a moment when our faith might be confirmed. That is when Jupiter might allow manifestation. So if you feel very strongly about something, for example, your future, etc., or let's say a friend, also Aquarius, or someone from your social circle makes you a promise, that might be the moment when Jupiter retrogrades back into the energetic degree of Aquarius, when that promise is fulfilled. The negative expression of this energy, well, it is anxiety, because Jupiter may amplify it. It might be fear that we're missing out. It might be fear that, let me just give you an example. I have all these future plans and I know I must do this and this and this for my long-term future, and it might not be optional because some things in life are a must, but I'm aging, I'm running out of time, I'm not so young anymore, I haven't accomplished the pre-requirements. And it might leave a sense of fear, a sense of anxiety, and a sense of obsession with just wanting to live our futures already. And that is not so positive, because it misaligns us, it takes us away from the present. You know, living in the past is always bad, but living in the future in an obsessive way will just blind us to opportunities that we have in the present. It might blind us to the problems we have in the present. So basically this can be a not so favorable quantum leap. Let's not hurry, let's not be obsessed by getting everything right now. Even if we waited 10 years, what matters is that we know the priority list, that we plant the seeds of intention, and we wait for harvest. Yet another negative expression of this Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius, our friends, our social circles may stress us out, may basically bombard us with communication, may want this and that from us, even if it's the most positive things like praises, like positive energy, like appreciation. If it comes in great excess, that might also be a big stress factor. So basically don't allow this Jupiter to cause your mental sphere to be on overdrive and basically just jump back and from the future to the present and so on. If we know how to use it in a really balanced way, then this energy, along with Mercury in the sign of Gemini, can make us so very intelligent, super smart, the best ideas, good fortune in communications, meeting the right people, being at the right place at the right time, because our minds will steer us. And of course, also it is the heart, because on the 9th of May, Venus enters into the sign of Gemini, leaving her home sign of Taurus. And yes, Venus is not the most comfortable in this part of the sky, because Gemini is dual, Gemini is extremely quick, Gemini is versatile, so it changes feelings very, very quickly. But the positive expression of Venus in the sign of Gemini, it makes us so very attractive. It makes our minds, our thoughts, our way of thinking, our speech, our words, our communication attractive and irresistible. It also makes us opportunistic. This is where we can just simply create our own luck by whatever it is that we focus our minds to. And as long as we don't jump into extremes, as long as we don't exaggerate, and as long as we don't allow our sudden change of feelings, sudden change of minds, sudden change of hearts to be like a living chaos in our souls, then we can just temper ourselves, we can moderate this, and it can actually help us get a multi-dimensional, a multi-chromatic, if this is an acceptable term, perception over so very many things. It can also make us learn what we love really much or what we're passionate about that much quicker. And yet another energy which I would like to mention is this Mars in the sign of Cancer. Yes, it is debilitated, so it's not extra strong, extra powerful, but it is empathic, it is very loving, it is the aspect basically of the light worker, of the nurse, of the healer, of the protector, of the emotional comforter. Under this energy, families stick together, lovers see each other through in hard times. People help out those who are much more disadvantaged. And of course, there is a negative expression as well, a passive aggressiveness and heightened emotional sensitivity. But under the present circumstances, I think we don't really need Mars in Cancer to be like that. And I would like to close this horoscope by mentioning that yes, things feel a little bit intense right now because of this energy shift, as in Mercury into Gemini, Venus into Gemini, anoretic Jupiter, anoretic Venus. Things might demand urgent resolution. Situations might demand us to brainstorm or to sacrifice or to take action, but this is not the passionate action of Aries, for example. This is where we'll be just asked to either at least try and make a choice, do our best to resolve a situation, and at the same time do all of this under the Saturn and Uranus conjunct the Sun square. So that means a lot of surprises and unexpected twists and turns of events. But this is where we can also feel a deadly calm before a massive storm that is brewing. And that storm is a karmic one, because in the last part of May and June, the eclipse season will start, and eclipses are going to be extremely powerful. First of all, because the nodes of the moon are in parts of the sky where they're in exaltation. This is when important things have to be accomplished, both individually and collectively, at least on a mental level, at least the plan, at least the choice being made. Whereas in 2022, the nodes of the moon are going to move into the let's work with this, let's do this quite physically sign of Taurus and Scorpio. So Taurus, Scorpio axis. Taurus, let's start building, let's start adding value. Scorpio, let's start transforming, changing, eliminating, etc. But that is the theme of 2022. So basically these eclipses are going to be extremely powerful because the nodes are very powerful themselves. Basically, the North Node in Gemini is the divine blueprint. It is the scheme, the architecture of everything that this Taurus is going to be building upon. So the eclipses will be very important for choices, decisions, us basically choosing our fate. And when we choose our fate, this is a big choice where we cannot second think anymore. That is why all of this up and down, all of this Neptunian expression of what is the truth, of half-truth, who am I, what am I gonna do, what do I want to bring with me in the future and what not, who am I willing to share the future with, relationship and etc. That's why all of this up and down, like the sinus energy has been ravaging our lives, so that when we get to this eclipse season and 6 months after, we can make the right choices. And the right choice is what we are inside of us, what we honestly want and desire without anyone else's influence. This is where this Neptune tried to teach us there is no right or wrong. All paths lead to the same outcome as long as it comes from us within our sovereign wills and desires and the soul, etc. And not what other people want, for example, or not what society wants. Not what, we are kind of willingly or unwillingly tricked into wanting. And sometimes the biggest trickster is no other than our shadows. Greed, vanity, etc. All of those may trick, jealousy. I want the same thing as my neighbor, as my relative. I want to be just as happy as someone I know. This is basically, symbolically speaking, the devil. And all through this year, we were invited to confront the devil and invited to leave us alone, in the sense that what we desire is ours alone, and no one, not even a spiritual force, not even a psychological force, is allowed to tell us what to want. This is basically the free will. We want what we want, and no one should actually question, the universe doesn't question, why we want it. Let the heart dictate. We might not get it exactly to meet our expectations. Maybe we might not get it at all, but at least our desires are that of our own and not someone or something else's. And of course, we're going to have another very powerful eclipse in November and December. So we are definitely going to be birthing the choices that we have made. But these choices are not as much, practical. What job should I do, or where should I actually move to next? But rather, who am I truly? What do I truly want? Or in, let's say, matters of love, who am I truly looking for? And this is not a specific person, and maybe not even a soulmate or twin flame. I'm not saying that that is just an invention or a fantasy. What I'm saying is that we have no power over that. It doesn't really matter what we think about fated lover or twin flame or whatever. It's never ever in our hands. And if someone thinks they can manifest a person, they're so very wrong, because that immediately goes against free will, and the universe will never encourage that. The darker forces will always encourage that, absolutely. But not the core, the source of all things, which protects free will. And that is why it's so very important for you to know who you love. What are you looking for in another person? Now let me give you my own example. I know that I can only be with someone who loves the divine more than they love themselves and implicitly me. Am I gonna find that person? I don't know, perhaps not, because the standard is impossible. But at least I know that I simply cannot love anyone like that, as in to be part of my life in that sense, who is not like that. So I'm actually being honest with myself. And I'm also being honest with the universe. Don't bring me a compromise situation. Don't manifest that. Don't listen to what I scream at you when I feel lonely at night. Because that's not my truth, really. That's just my fears. But another person who might not be like me. There are people who can actually live with compromises, and they are very, very good at that. And that just denotes that they're that much more understanding. They're that much more wiser in an earthly sense. So basically, those people will wish, bring me someone who I can truly build a life with. So know thyself is the essence of absolutely everything. Because once you know yourself, once you understand your heart, you will know what to ask for. And when you know what to ask for, chances are you're gonna get it. But the secret is to actually desire it with total honesty from the depths of your heart, with understanding of who you are and what your soul seeks in this existence. And no one, not even the greatest oracles, can actually tell you this. It is something that you have to seek inside your soul, inside your heart. So this is what actually seek the divine within you means. Know what you were created for and embrace that spark of creation, your uniqueness and distinctiveness, as in love thyself. And even in the most extreme cases, when someone might not want to accept it. No, it's possible. Why not? The universe is infinite. And someone might realize that you created me for this, but I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be this. This is my deepest desire. And you know what? You can change. It can change. That which created you can upgrade you. So it's no problem at all. It is really not the end of the world. This is Scorpio. You can transform, you can shed your skin. Nothing is set in stone. That which created you can change you, mutate you, upgrade you, transform you into what makes your heart happy. But that has to be totally honest, and you have to reach out with profound self-knowledge. And if you're at least trying your hardest to do this, the eclipses will bless your life, even if the energy itself is definitely gonna be tense. Why lie? But this is where the nodal axis is in Gemini, Sagittarius, both quick energies. Gemini wants to do something the very second they thought about it, so even if it's tense, the tension is very quickly gonna lead to something totally useful, practical, you living what you chose. And another idea that I want to mention, just think deeply about how much the global crisis, the global situation, the isolation, and the incompetence of centralized power that was revealed actually helped you to find who you truly are. It took away false sense of security, but that is a blessing in itself. Even with all the uncertainty and the fears that our lives are so unstable, the truth is still better than a false sense of security and knowing that I can rely upon this and that, when in truth, we can't rely on anything else except the divine and ourselves, and perhaps someone who we promise total loyalty in this lifetime too. So basically this concludes your horoscope. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the likes, shares, support and lovely comments. If you'd like to support my channel, you can find the link to my PayPal in the description below. Wish everyone a wonderful and magical week. Until next time, bye for now.